Hey, if you are like me, then you cannot afford to just run out and buy one of those $14,000 whole home backup generators. And if you're still like me, I absolutely despise these gas generators. They are extremely noisy and can attract criminals to your house. And eventually their fuel will run out, which will make this absolutely useless when you just can't run down to the store to get more fuel. But today you are going to learn how I am going to run all of my essential appliances in my house using this $1,699 Guardian 6000 power station, aka what most of us call solar generators, but this is what Opus sent me to test out. Now, to really test this out, I'm going to simulate a multi-day power outage here at my house, and I'm going to bring you along for this ride. Now, right off the bat, some of the great things about this thing is that, number one, I have never gotten anything that was junk or bad from Opus. And number two, this thing will never run out of fuel because I can recharge it using the free sunlight. Also, too, this is quiet and it is not noisy like those gas generators that can attract criminals to your house. And then with that 6,000 watt output, this thing is a flippin' beast. It's awesome. And spoiler alert, at the end of these 2 days, the food in my fridge was kept cold, the food in my chest freezer was kept frozen, and just simply put, this has outperformed all other solar generators I've had in the past. But not for a lack of me making mistakes, so stay tuned to see how I screwed up. So let's start this real world simulation of how I will run my house using just the Guardian 6000 from Opus, and it starts right now. So I used to think in the past that if the power went out for an extended period of time that it wouldn't be that big of a deal because I could always use the break from the electronics, and hey, I have ways to cook my food outside. So while I used to believe that it would be great to unplug for a little bit during an extended power outage, I soon realized that some of the things that I was forgetting about is, number one, I would not want the food in my fridge or my chest freezer to go bad and spoil on me. Next, it would also be nice to have at least a charged cell phone so I could contact family members during emergency times or get critical news updates. And then, have you ever tried cooking outside when it's absolutely freezing or during a heavy downpour? Also, where I live at, it gets dark around 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the evening during the winter time. And I want to be able to do the dishes or take a shower or whatever I need to do in the evening hours. Plus, I also just don't want to be in the darkness for 13 hours straight until the sun comes up the next day. So if I were rich, I would be able to afford one of those whole home backup generators and the transfer switch, which costs thousands and thousands of dollars. And with something like that, I would be able to run my furnace and central air and other really big appliances like that. But I am poor, so here's how I'm going to use this Guardian 6000 to run my house as close to normal as possible during a prolonged power outage. So to do this, all I am doing is just simply running one of these 12-gauge extension cords all through my house to any room that I'm going to need electricity in. Now, I am using the 12-gauge, a little bit heavier duty extension cords, and not just the regular extension cords for this, because I just want to make sure that these are just heavy duty enough that they will handle the load. Also, for every room that I'm running a cord into, I'm also going to be attaching one of these power strips to. That way I can run multiple appliances in each room. And folks, I know nothing about electricity, so if I get something wrong in this video, hey, there's no need to go ballistic down in the comment section. Just comment down below with anything that I might have done wrong or could do better so that others can learn from it. Okay, the very first thing that I want to do is in every room that we're going to be using regularly, I want to plug in a lamp so we can have some light. And then the next thing I got to get running is my refrigerator here. I don't want my food to go bad. Lights came on, refrigerator's running. This is now good to go. And then the next order of importance is to get this chest freezer running. This is something else that we have a lot of food in that I don't want to go bad. It's plugged in. I hear it running. Now this one's good to go too. Now while the Guardian 6000 will run my electric oven for about 3.5 hours before it runs out of power, and being how this oven takes between usually a half hour to an hour to bake the average meal, I decided that I am not going to use this oven during this 2-day simulation period. I am actually going to use this electric hot plate to cook my food with, and I'm going to cook my eggs and sausage with it now. And again, if I had $14,000 for one of those whole home backup generators, I'd be using my oven to cook with, but I don't. So I am going to adapt and overcome and use this hot plate and see how it works out instead. Now I don't drink coffee, but my wife does. And this handled her fancy coffee maker with no problems. And now I need to do the dishes. And if I use the Guardian 6000 to run my hot water heater, then that would be just another huge appliance that would drain all the power from it way too fast. So since I have no power going to my hot water heater, this is only going to run out cold water. And who wants to do dishes with cold water? So to overcome this, I got this $50 rechargeable camping shower. And the way this works is it has a heating element that you put down into the water for about 10 minutes to get it good and warm. And then you put the pump down into the water, and then you can wash and spray your dishes clean. And of course, since this is a camping shower, you can also take this into your bathroom at your house and have warm water to shower with also. Now, just as a heads up, starting November 25th, 2025, this Guardian 6000 is going to be on sale for $1,699, and that is a $800 savings because this normally runs about $2,500. And I will put a link to this down below so you can check it out, and I will not make 1 penny if you buy one or not. And now it's time for me to do some video editing, and this Guardian 6000 is running my computer and everything else, no problem at all. And now since it's my lunchtime, I'm just going to have one of my normal heat and eat meals that I throw into the microwave. So now I'm just going to plug in my microwave and throw this in for 2 minutes. And we can see that the Guardian 6000 is running my microwave, all the lamps in my house, my computer, all the things, absolutely no problem. Now the unfortunate thing is that my refrigerator plug would not reach all the way over here, nor would my microwave cord reach all the way over there. So I had to unplug my microwave for the 2 minutes that I'm going to use to heat up my meal. Also too, I would not run that hot plate and this microwave at the same time. I would only run one of these cooking appliances at a time on that same extension cord. And now since I've eaten lunch and I've done some other household chores, I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit more video editing now. And I want to point out that when I am not using my computer, I am going to completely power it down so I don't waste the power. And now it's later in the day and it's my dinner time, and it's also pitch black outside. It's already dark out. And now I'm just going to heat my dinner up in the microwave and enjoy the rest of my evening. And now my wife and I, we're going to watch a little bit of TV to unwind for the night. We don't watch very much TV, but I wanted to test this Guardian 6000 out. Well, it is now day 2 of this. But first things first, it is a little bit chilly in this house, so I'm going to get this fire started just to break the chill. So last night when I went to bed, it had about 39% power left remaining in it, and it did run my refrigerator and my chest freezer all night long. Yep, everything in here is still cold. And everything inside my chest freezer is still frozen. But now we are only at 9% power remaining, so we are going to have to recharge this today. So this really is kind of my fault that it is already pretty much drained of power. I was a little loosey-goosey with my use of it yesterday. First, I was leaving lamps on in rooms that I wasn't even in. Plus, I edited videos on my desktop computer yesterday for several hours, which would obviously drain a lot of power. And then probably the worst culprit of it all was that last night, yesterday evening, me and my wife finished watching a movie on our television set. So let's get this set up outside and hooked up to the solar panels so we can start recharging. So to recharge this, I just simply moved the Guardian 6000 into my kitchen, and then I placed the solar panels up on my back deck, and then I ran the cord from the solar panels to the Guardian 6000. This way the unit itself remains safe and out of the elements. And then if need be, I can hook my refrigerator and my chest freezer up to it while it's charging. So at the end of this day too, while I did make it through the day, I did make a lot of mistakes and I learned a lot of lessons. On day one of this simulation, I was spending hours on the computer editing videos. We watched a part of a movie. I was leaving lamps on. I just did not conserve energy at all. And all of that waste on day number one caused me to have to start recharging my Guardian 6000 like first thing this morning just so I could make it through today. And to get through today, one of the things that I did was I left the shades open on my window so the natural sunlight would come in so I wouldn't have to use as many lamps. And then the main thing that I did was I plugged my refrigerator into the Guardian 6000 while it was actually charging. And a pro tip here, and I should have done this yesterday, but a pro tip is that you actually plug your refrigerator in for just about an hour, and then you unplug it for 2 or 3 hours, and then plug it back in and back and forth. And then what that does is that uses up a lot less energy running your refrigerator while at the same time still keeping your food cold. And then another thing that we should have done yesterday was instead of watching so much television in the evening time, we should have watched a little bit more videos on our cell phones, and that would have used up a lot less energy also. So with my wasting of energy yesterday, again, like I said, I had to start trying to recharge it first thing this morning, and as luck would have it, because I always have Murphy's Law, it was a very overcast day. So I really struggled. It was really tight to recharge it enough so that it would keep my refrigerator running, and then being able to have a little bit of light once it got dark. But in the end, having that Guardian 6000 beat the heck out of sitting in the dark for 2 days, which is what would have happened had this been a real power outage. In the end, I was able to keep my food in my refrigerator and my chest freezer for those 2 days. I was able to cook or warm up my food. I had warm water to do dishes with. We had lights, and it kept our cell phones and our electronics charged. Now let's actually go over the Guardian 6000 so you can see exactly what you're getting. So on the front side of the unit, you actually have 2 USB ports and a USB-C port for charging electronics and cell phones and stuff like that. And up here is your power button, and over here is your cigarette lighter port. Now on this side is your AC outlets, and these top 4 outlets here are your standard AC outlets, things that you plug in your lamps, your fridge, your chest freezer, TV, computer, etc. And then here on the bottom left you have this L1430 outlet, and right here is where you would run a plug from your Guardian 6000 to a transfer switch if you had one. And then this outlet here is where you would plug in things like your clothes dryer and also your electric oven. And I did not run my washing machine or my clothes dryer during this 2-day test because my appliances are old and not energy efficient, and they just would have drained this way too fast. And then this outlet here is a NEMA 620R, and this is where you would plug in something like a 1/2 horsepower to a 1 horsepower well pump. And it's my understanding that this would run one of those for a couple of hours straight before you had to recharge this. And then this outlet is a NEMA TT30R, and if I have this right, this is what you would actually plug your RV into if you have an RV. Now this side is where your inputs are, and both of these here on the sides are where you can hook up extra external batteries if you wanted to for more power than what this gives you. And this center one here, this is where you would plug your solar panels in if you're recharging it via solar panels. And then up here is where your cord goes from here to charge it by your wall outlet. And then here is just the reset button should you trip it. Now, if you really want to charge this in a hurry, you can actually plug your solar panels and have it plugged into your wall outlet at the same time. So you got both of those power sources coming in. And I think you can get this recharged in about an hour and a half that way. Now, it typically only takes me about 3 hours to fully recharge this when I got it plugged into my wall outlet. Now, because this thing is such a beast, using 2 of these 240 watt solar panels from Opus, you'll typically need between 12 to 15 hours of sunlight to fully recharge this from 0 back to full. So a good takeaway about recharging this is, number 1, make sure it's always fully recharged so that it's ready to go when a power outage does hit. Number 2, don't go crazy on day number 1 like I did and waste a bunch of the energy. And then lastly, just don't forget that you can always have this outside and charging in the sun while you still have your refrigerator and chest freezer and stuff like that hooked up to it while it's charging. Now, as much as I absolutely love having the Guardian 6000, here are a couple of the downsides. Number 1, you cannot run your furnace or your hot water heater or your central air on it. It would just drain it way too fast. But again, I don't have $14,000 to go run out and buy one of those whole home backup generators. But then again, for $1,699, that thing kicked butt. And then the other downside that I found about this, and this isn't really Ope's fault, but because I don't have a transfer switch, then I had to run the cables from the Guardian 6000 to each room that I wanted to have power in. But again, running those extension cords saved me a couple of $1,000s that it would cost to get one of those installed, because I don't know anything about electricity. And now here is my critique for Opes, and this first critique I've had for Opes for every solar generator that I've had from them. Opes, I really wish you would make a carrying bag for the cables for the solar generators. Now, you supply a carrying bag for the Guardian 6000, but with the carry strap here, there's no snaps or anything to it, so you can't undo this handle so you can actually attach it to the solar generator itself. So what I usually end up having to do every time I get a solar generator from Opes is I usually end up having to get my own little bag here, and I use these large carabiners to hook it to a handle. So that works out pretty handy dandy, and it's just a small critique there. But Opes, yeah, actually supplying a bag that you can actually hook to it to put the cables in would be awesome. But here's my final thoughts on the Guardian 6000. That thing was a beast, and it kicked butt. Simply put, it just ran all of my essential appliances in my house much more than any other solar generator that I've had before. And one last thing about Opes, every Ope solar generator that I have has done great and has been long lasting, and I expect this one to be exactly the same. So now I want to hear from you. What is your plan? How are you going to keep all of your essential appliances running during an extended power outage? Comment down below with what your plan is. And in a grid down situation where we don't have proper hygiene and you just can't run to the doctor's office or to the pharmacy, a simple scratch could actually get infected and lead to your death. So to see a whole playlist of videos where I show you how you can make a bunch of your own prepper medicine just using the plants and weeds that grow around you, then click on the video that should be appearing on the screen just about now to learn what most other preppers don't know. All right, folks, this is enough internet for me today. I do want to get back and be with my family, but folks, if you made it this far, hey, thank you very much for watching, and I pray that you have a good night.